Kevin, first of all, I'd like to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you feeling?
Feeling good. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Excellent. Excellent. And how's the it's quite funny because it's quite contrasting weather. So in the UK, sorry, contrasting time. So right now is nighttime in the UK, and obviously it's like morning time for you in the LA. So
Yeah,
you're getting up, and I'm going to bed shortly.
that's right. I'm just starting my day. I'm having a cup of tea.
Hey, I hope you guys can see his mug. He's having his cup of tea. I'll be having, my tea, as they said in England, right? Because he grew up in
Yeah, of
England.
course. There you
Yeah,
go. That's the
absolutely.
mixture.
Yeah. All right. So for those of you who do not know much about Kevin, just in simple terms, so Kevin is a 5 times world champion kickboxer. He's also been involved as an actor in Hollywood. He's done some well-known films such as The Fifth Element, Woman in a Red Dress, and so on and so forth. But more recently, he's become more of an artist, a visual artist, and an author, and even a photographer as well. And I think one thing for certain is that Kevin, I think this is one thing you definitely actually say on your own website, is that you actually think that life essentially is an art form, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, life is an art form. Everything is kind of, I mean, a reflection. And I think that I've always said that artists are the teachers of humanity because so much humanity is in art. And if you try to think about what a world would be like without art in it, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
reflection of ourselves and a reflection of our, inner spirit, soul. So it's just it's there talking to us all the time, and it's definitely impacted my life.
That's just a wonderful statement. Um, and one thing that I notice is that everything that you've been involved in, which we're going to go into in a lot more detail, whether it's the martial arts, the fighting, Hollywood, acting, directing, writing books, painting, whether it's photography, those are all kind of different types of actual art forms, whether we see it or not. And I just find that really fascinating how you've been able to um, move and transition yourself in all of those different aspects. And I find it quite, and I think it's quite common with a lot of people who have been in the film industry, or they've been in the fighting sports industry or fighting industry, what have you. They've managed to get themselves in a different, whether it's a film career, or they've managed to write a book about themselves. And I think it just takes having one solid art form to then move into another one, because once you've achieved it, it's like, okay, I want to go on to the next thing, I want to go to the next thing.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not going to waffle too much about all of this art form stuff. We're going to get more into that. Let's get straight into Kevin's story. So if you guys don't know already, so Kevin has actually come out, before we get into the book, Kevin.
Yeah.
Okay, so our listeners know quite a bit about you already, right? They may have done your homework. Tell us one or two things that we don't know about you. Any interesting facts that we don't know about you already?
Oh, that's dangerous.
Come
You put me right,
on.
put me
Are we
right
gonna
on the
get one
spot.
thing out of you? You're gonna come
Right,
and
you put me right on the spot there, man. Come on.
yeah, I have to.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. I'll just give you a brief kind of overview because I'm sure there are people here that don't know my story.
Yeah.
Um, and if you do know it, I'm going to tell you some of it again. Maybe you haven't heard it
Okay.
this way, but I was born in Newcastle upon Tyne, which is a coal mining town in England and shipbuilding town. And my
Yeah.
grandparents raised me because my mother was only 15 when she gave birth to me,
Hmm.
and they were white. My mother was white, my grandparents were white, and I grew up
Your mother
thinking
was
I was
15. Wow.
15, maybe
Fascinating.
15,
Wow.
16, around that.
15, 16. Okay.
Yeah. So they raised me and with the understanding that I was their son. So I thought that my mother was my sister. That was all. That was the premise of my childhood. And then when I got to the age of 12, 13, they told me that I was my father. I learned that my father was African, and I found
Okay.
out that my sister was my mother, and it was quite confusing for me at the time. So so that kind of was my adolescent kind of beginning and how I got started, and that led me into doing martial arts because
Mhm.
I think I was looking for a form of expression, a form of
Yeah.
trying to find my place in the world, or as just as a teenager trying to like fit in and trying to be part of society.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a brief overview if you don't know who I am.
Thank you. We'll take the overview over the other facts that we don't know about Kevin. I see you trying to hide, but it's all right. We'll let you off, all right, Kevin? Okay, so let's move on to the book, okay? I guess we've got the icebreakers out the way. So for those of you
Led
who
me
don't know
into
about the book, so Kevin's new book, These Are African Hands, The Journey of a Champion. So this book will be coming out on the 28th. Is the 28th, right, Kevin? The 28th of March. Are you still with us, Kevin?
Yes, I am. Can you see me? I'm here.
You
Hmm.
still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Oh boy. Can you?
Uh, Kevin, you still with us?
Oh, yes. I'm here. Can you hear me? Adrian, can you hear me?
You're here. Okay. Okay.
I'm here.
We've got someone calling in. Let's let them in. I can hear you now. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
let's let him.
Can you hear me,
Mm-hmm.
Kevin?
I got you. I'm here. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Good.
Kevin, we are gonna do something different. We're normally gonna take the Q&A at the end, but we actually have someone calling in with a very, very interesting question. Should we let them in? Are you happy to let them in?
Yeah.
This
Let's
is
let him
your
in.
show.
Yeah.
Okay, let's let them in. So we got Paul calling in. Let's let them in. So Paul, what you'll need to do is
Hello.
you would actually need to use you need to switch to Chrome browser. So if you're on the iPad, you need to download Google Chrome. All right, you would need to download Google Chrome so that you can ask Kevin the question that you have. Okay, okay, right. So while Paul's trying to get himself sorted out, we're just going to continue on with the show. But just want to let everyone
Sure.
know, if you want to call in, make sure that you are using the Google Chrome browser, because if you do not use the Google Chrome browser, it will not allow you to call in, unfortunately, because of the technology you're using. So I'm gonna just put a message for those on YouTube. Make sure you use the Google Chrome browser to call in. Okay, but that was a really good question from Paul. So Paul, once you have your iPad on Google Chrome, please call back in, and then we can obviously take your question. Okay, so we're gonna disconnect him from the call. Perfect, and let's continue on the show. So yeah, once again, guys. So where were we? So we're talking about your book, right? So
Yeah.
Kevin's book. These are African Hands. The launch date is 28th of March. I'm aware. Yeah.
That's right. March 28th. The
That's right.
book's available
March
right
28th.
now for pre-sale. If anyone wants to do
Okay,
pre-sales right
is
now, it's available.
pre-sales. Okay. Okay, so I think you guys
Yeah.
can see the book on the screen. So we have the book on the screen if you guys can see it. So that's just a picture of the book. If you guys would like to, order it, purchase it, just head over to theseareafricanhands.com. Is that correct, Kevin?
That's right. Yeah.
theseareafricanhands.com. So make sure you head over to theseareafricanhands.com and you will be able to get your hands on the book. But we do have a special giveaway for one of our viewers who do call in or send us a message on YouTube or you can send us a message on the podcast session, because I now have access to the YouTube chat. So you can actually now put a message in YouTube chat if you wanted to, as well as the podcast session. So that's just the image of Kevin's book, which is now available. So let's go straight into your book. So Kevin, I love how you name the chapters by rounds. I just find that so interesting.
Yeah.
Was that your idea?
Yeah. It made sense.
It was your idea.
Well, it made sense for me to do that because, being a fighter, rounds are very important in my life, so I always think, make the metaphor of fighting and everyday life. So we're kind of going through different rounds each day, or, as we progress through through the rounds, through the life, so that's it.
Yeah.
That was my, that was my thought around that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
But I
actually have a friend who's...
The book is in...
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No problem. The book is in 3 parts. There's 3 parts to this book. The rounds, which deals with the adolescent years, and then it's a coming of age story. So it's the rounds, round 1, round 2, of this kid going through his life, up to fighting for the World Championship. So we follow his journey. And then it's also split into 2 other parts, which is the actual fights themselves.
Yeah.
And then also discussions with a very renowned fighting champion. I won't say his name, but not that I can't, but I just think it's interesting. You'll figure it out when you read it. A discussion with him throughout the book, which is mostly like where I am now in my life. So you get all the 3 dynamics of the story, and that's I think that's where the power of the story lies. In terms of the structure.
And and I think that's the conversation, Kevin, that we were having offline. That the way the book starts is, it just grabs you in, I mean, the book starts where pretty much where your current life is at the moment. I don't think I want to ruin too much about it. For those that haven't read the book, we are going to do a book giveaway. But the way it starts is that where you are currently in your life, I believe so. And, actually, I might just mention actually. So the way the book starts is Kevin goes into I believe it's a mental clinic, and then there's a conversation that's about to take place, and someone wants to introduce Kevin to this person as champ, but Kevin doesn't actually think that's necessary. Kevin's more focused on the purpose behind his visit to the mental clinic, and he's more on the meaningful and the purposeful visit that he's made, and it just hooks you in. But then when you continue to read the book, you actually go into your childhood, right? So obviously the first 2 pages is talking about more or less your current life, and then when you go into the 3rd page onwards, I believe, or the 2nd page onwards, what happens is that it then takes the viewers right to the kind of the beginning of your life, when you were living in England, where you were growing up in England. And what's quite interesting is that we've just come out from a year of 2020 where racism was racism or what have you, has been at an all-time high with the whole George Floyd incident that's taken place in America. And then your book takes the readers through a scene where you're getting racially abused, just as soon as you've got to school, being called blackie or whatever. And that to me, I think that to me got me thinking, is that the reason why you kind of got into fighting, because you wanted to defend yourself from the people in school, the racist people in school in England when you were growing up in primary school, who wanted to have a fight with you?
No, that wasn't. I mean, I think that was part of it, but not much. I think that for me, my issue was the racism really for me was minimal. Uh, you see it in the beginning of the book,
Yeah.
so you see the tone that it does exist, and it did exist for me, but overall, it really wasn't in terms of racism, hardcore racism, what people can deal with. I received a lot of love and a lot of support in Newcastle, but for me, it was about trying to find my own place. I just didn't feel like I fitted in, and it felt like I was there was something that wasn't connected, and that is a searching for yourself, searching to find where your tribe is, where you fit in, what's happening, and especially as an adolescent, you're trying to prove yourself. You're 13 years old, 14, you think you know everything. You think we know everything, right? So,
Yeah.
so I think for
Okay.
me that was one element, but the other element is that I think I had some anger to get out, as a lot of teenagers do. A lot of that was coming from the fact that when my parents told me that I was they were my grandparents and that my sister was my mother, that can definitely lead to distrust and feeling. The irony of it is, the people you love the most, you also unconsciously feel betrayed. So that
Yeah.
dynamic exists within the book, and I try to write that in the best way possible, because it's not as simple as saying you betrayed me. You don't feel that. You feel like you love them just the same, and they love you just the same, but something inside is operating. And so I think that anger had to be, and resentment had to be expelled. And to do it in a physical form
Yeah.
is a great way to do it, because, when I train or teach kids or adults in martial arts, you can see how their lives are shaped or changed because they're being able to express themselves through physical action and
Mm.
discipline of the fight, the style of fighting.
Yeah.
So that's how it helped me in a great way.
Okay. Okay. A question popped into my mind about martial arts. I do remember reading a book and, finding out that, it was karate that you were practicing. And the question that popped into the mind is, how did you make the transition to karate to kickboxing?
Well, it was kung fu. It was kung fu, but
Kung
they're
fu.
very similar in lots of ways. And then at the
Mm.
same time, they're not. So, they're very similar. Chinese kung fu, traditional kung fu is very, it's what you see in the films, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's And then boxing is kickboxing is the sports aspect. So it was very easy for me to translate, to cross over from traditional martial arts, and that's my basis, and then go
Hmm.
into kickboxing because it just works very well. And to have something to compete for and to something to push and drive you towards, being able to do it in a sport and aspect gave me a something to drive myself towards, and that was, you know, how it worked for me. Those two systems working together.
Yeah. Perfect. I want
But
to,
I
Kevin,
also
I want to
think
go
that,
back to when you,
yeah, uh,
sorry, there's a little bit of a lag. So I think
yeah,
it's safe for me to kind of wait for a few seconds before responding. So I'll let you continue, Kevin.
sure, sure. Um, and with the martial arts, for me, I mean, you're trying to escape. I mean, for many, as I said earlier, growing up in a coal mining town in Newcastle, there wasn't many people of color. So when you find out that your father's from Africa, and then you want to associate with people like you, and you realize that your skin, I mean, it's impossible. How could you think that it's crazy that you can think, how could this kid not know he's not brown skinned,
Yeah.
right? How could he think he's white? But when you're raised by pure love from your grandparents, and you think you're the same as they are, and they it's just love. There's no color to it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then when you find out later that your father's African, and you are a little different now from everyone else, you, you need to find you need to find those people. So a big search for me was looking in Newcastle for people of color, so I could associate myself with, so I could find out. I think that most of what we're doing is finding out who we are. This is what we are, and this is what happens in life.
Yeah.
We're moving along, trying to discover who we are. That's what we do on a day-to-day basis, even whether we know it or not, whether we're unconscious of that or not, because we're trying to find ourselves. And I mean, if you look at it on a spiritual level, we're trying to find the self. That's what we are trying to find. And whether you're a martial artist, or whether you're a priest, or a meditating in a temple, or whether you're a interior designer, or whether you're, that's a good one, an interior designer, interior, or whether you're an actor, or whether you're, whatever you are, whatever your station is in life, that is your vehicle in which to discover and work through, to learn lessons, and to you're working on yourself through whatever your profession is, and ultimately it's to find out more about who we are. Do I know who I am? Maybe I know more than I did when I was 15. I know more than I did 2 years ago, but I'm still learning,
It never ends.
Yeah.
Never ends. But I think this is the great thing that, I mean, finding your father, I mean, that was one piece of that puzzle of finding yourself, right? Because your father is obviously as part of you, and you have your father's DNA. And I remember we had that Zoom conversation last week, where I could relate to you on so many levels with so many different things. I mean, I did a little bit of martial arts university. I went through some periods of anger when I first discovered who my real father was, because similar to you, I first discovered who my real father was, when I was a teen, and I think that got me angry, that he wasn't around. But then I kind of got raised up with pure love as well, because my stepfather who raised me up, even to this day I still see him as my real father, because it was pure love. And even going to primary school as well, pure love. I was probably one of the few black kids in the whole entire school, and I didn't really see color. I mean, I didn't see black and white. I just saw all of us. And that's why I tell people one of my favorite times in my whole education kind of career is primary school, because it was just almost complete bliss. No racism, no nothing. It was just great memories, But yeah, finding yourself is, all of these different pieces of the puzzle, family, career, business, you name it. These are all important components of finding yourself, and then also what you do, how you react to certain stimuli, as you said, anger, how am I going to express that anger? So rather than you being bullied at school, rather than that being the result of you fighting, it was more of the anger. The anger was a way, it was an outlet, martial arts was an outlet for you to express that anger. And as a result, it's manifested itself in lots of beautiful ways of art forms, whether it's your books, whether it's your painting, whether it's your movies, and so on and so forth. I totally understand where you're coming from.
Sure.
I totally understand where you're coming from.
Thank you. And it's so important to, be able to express ourselves, because, we all need to be heard, and we all need to be seen. And, that is a big part of the journey for all of us. I think in some ways, there are so many unconscious levels that are driving us in our lives. And it takes a long time to figure that out, what those things are sometimes. I think for me as well, a great part of it was my grandparents were, my grandfather fought in World War II. He was a prisoner of war, and he had a lot of PTSD. Um, and he used to beat my mom up a lot. He used to. There was a lot of, a lot of fighting in the house, and
Oh
I
man,
saw my mom get hurt quite often, just
sorry to hear
throughout
that.
my childhood growing up, and there wasn't anything that I could
Mm,
do about that.
yeah.
So what I really believe that I was also championing her in as a fighter. What I couldn't do as a young boy, when I would just stand frozen watching the violence, what I couldn't do as a young
Mm,
boy, I was able to transfer into the ring, and kind of like it's like a delayed response, but my reaction to what I used to see as a child. And that was, I think, a very powerful element that was driving me too. There's many
mhm.
things, but that was a big one.
Wow. So another thing that motivated you to kind of become this champion fighter was not only anger, but it was also seeing, your family taking hits and you
Mm.
being younger and not being able to necessarily defend them or help them. It kind of put that kind of need in you to kind of develop this fighter mentality, this fighter spirit, this fighter kind of skills to be able to maybe hopefully defend, people that you love in future.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the greatest force, it may sound like a cliche, but the
Yeah.
greatest force and power is love. If that's
Mm.
motivating you, then what makes a great fighter? I'll tell you what makes a great fighter. It's not their technique. It's not how fast they are. It's
Yeah.
not how hard they train. It's not how how strong they are. It's
Yeah.
it's the heart.
It's the
It's the
heart. Yeah.
heart. If you have the heart of a fighter,
Yeah.
you can't be stopped. You can't. Because that's what we always say in the fight game. He's got a heart, kid. That kid's got a heart. And anyone with a heart, you can't stop that. And that's the greatest force that you want to be driving you. And if that's driving you throughout your journey, you're going to make it no matter what.
100%. I
Yeah,
totally agree with you, Kevin. I
yeah,
mean, the Bible says, we have faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these three is love. And
yeah,
love is a powerful force. It's like a
yeah.
drug. Like it pushes you to do things that you never expected that you could do, or you never thought that you would do, as well. Something popped into my mind when you were talking about, just your motivations behind, fighting, or how powerful love is. This might
Believe
sound
that
cheesy. I'm a huge fan of the Rocky fighting series. I'm sure you might have thought this may have come up, but there's one particular. I've watched all of them, but there's one particular line actually, that Sylvester Stallone says in Rocky Balboa. I think he says is it's not how many times you get hit, it's how many times you can get up after taking hits, right? And I think
oh my
it
God.
just kind of sums all that up, right? Yeah.
Well, let me answer this. Let me address that. Let me address that. Well, the
Yeah.
Buddhists,
Go on.
okay? The Buddhists say
Hmm.
never give up. That's their motto. If you're a Buddhist, then we all have the Buddha spirit within us, is never
Mm.
give up. And in the
Never give up.
Japanese have a saying, which is nanakorobiya oki, which means you go down 8 times, you get up nine times. I might be wrong on the numbers. It might be 10
Yeah.
times, you get up 11 times. But the bottom line is you go down, you get up. Because that's the spirit.
Mm.
That's the spirit of humanity, really. Because we are here. And look at humanity. Look how far, how many through the centuries, what we've gone through, how many wars,
It's remarkable, isn't it?
how many, just look at it. And then how we've managed
Certainly
to live.
has.
Life has to go on.
Says
Life has to go on.
certainly has.
So this is, yeah. So I look at it as, it's a huge, like, it's a trauma that we're responding against sometimes in this life because it's passed on through our generations. I mean, we talk about my
Yeah.
grandfather who was traumatized from World War II. and probably traumatized from things before that as a
Mm-hmm.
childhood. And then you go further back into the medieval days where people were slaying each other on the battlefield with the fighting for Christianity against the Muslim world, and all these things. We go back through history and just how those have been carried on through life. And we are at the forefront of humanity now, and we're carrying all that history behind us is within us right now, because it's all part of it, the same thing. We are part of the same thing.
I can't agree
So
with you more.
we're at the forefront, and we are yeah, so we are going into, if we can have this type of conversation, then we can help to heal ourselves. Now I'm going off on a bigger conversation here. It's much bigger than the book.
It is connected
But
because we're fighting for everything at the
it's
end of the day,
connected
right?
somehow.
Whether it's for
It's
climate change,
definitely
whether it's for
connected.
our rights, for freedom, so many different things, you know. And I think we've definitely seen that, you know, since 2020.
Yeah,
I've seen a number of messages come in the YouTube chat. I'm just going to read
yeah,
them. Unfortunately, I can't put them on the screen, but when we have call-ins soon, you should be able to see some live interaction with other guests. So we have a
yeah.
message from Christian Leon. I don't know if you know him. He's saying, "My brother, that's a loaded question, huh?" We also have Tony Charles. He says, "Hey Kev, way to go," from Graham and Tony. We also have Keith Newman. Did you want to say something?
That's a
Yeah.
key. That's the key.
Yeah.
Keep
Those of
moving.
you who have tuned
Oh,
in from
my
America, I've seen a
friends,
lot of
thank
people
you,
who
thank you,
signed up for
thank
this
you.
event are from America. A lot of you, thank you so much for joining us. We got people all over the world. We got people from Ghana, from England, from the UK. So many of you from all over the world. Just thank you so much for tuning in. So Keith Newman says, well said about being brought up on love and color didn't come into the equation. That's very, very true. And yeah, yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Let me just address that. Thank you,
Okay.
Keith. Because let me tell you about Newcastle. They got soul, baby. Newcastle has soul. Okay,
Yeah.
they've got a real soul. Every city, every place has its own soul, right? Newcastle has a soul. Do you know that Muhammad
Really?
Ali got
You learn
married
something every day.
in Newcastle?
Okay.
Just up at, I think, South Fields or something. Yeah, he went to Newcastle. He went to Newcastle. He says
Oof.
he'd never received
That's a
more love in
statement.
his life than
That is a
anywhere
statement.
from the people of Newcastle. Yeah, Ali said that. Um, and Douglas,
Go on.
there's what, I'm blanking right now, but Douglas, forgotten his name. Roderick
Oh,
Douglas.
Kevin,
No,
what's
I'm
happened?
wrong on the name, but we have in
Just
Newcastle.
disappeared. All right, guys. Thank you for your
Okay.
patience. We have Kevin
Hi.
back in the show. I can see in the YouTube channel as well. We've got we've got, by the way, just before we continue, Kevin, we have Chris
Mhm.
Berkey. Does that name ring a bell to you? Chris Berkey.
Yes, Chris. Hi,
Yeah.
Chris.
So Chris Berkey says hi. Um, we have Allison's photography from Newcastle. She says, "Good to hear you, Brewery," from Bruce. And then
Thank
uh,
you.
Keith Newman says hi. Ruth McLeod says, "I think the historical person Kevin was talking about was Frederick Douglass." I don't know if that's yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you very much for that. Thank you, Ruth. Tony Charles. Okay, yeah. So it's just people just making comments regarding you coming, you leaving the show, but you're back, so that's what
Okay.
matters. And now our viewers have just skyrocketed since you came back. Imagine that. Okay. Yeah. So let us know where you're listening from. A few people are saying where they're listening from. So you got people. So I can see Los Angeles. I can see London. I can see Newcastle, England. Drop a message in the chat if you want to let us know where you're listening from on the Sound of Accra podcast, and that will be very amazing on the YouTube channel or whatever. So right, let's get straight back. Yeah, the champ is back. The champ is back. Yeah, the champ is back. Yeah, you should be able to see all of these messages on YouTube after the show, Kevin. So don't worry, you're not
Champ
missing
is
out.
back.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
so the champ is back. That's correct. That's correct. So let's continue the show. So where were we? So we were talking about fighting, right? You were talking about how through the history of time, how people having that fighting spirit has, it's just something that's passed through time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's passed through
yeah,
time. I mean, we're humans as well. We have to struggle to some degree because that's how we learn. I mean, that's how we. It's such a sad situation, isn't it? That we have to go through all this stuff to learn things. But we do. I mean, look, life is
school of
what
hard
it is.
knocks. Either the hard way
The
or the
school
easy
of
way.
hard knocks, you know,
Not really an easy way.
the hard way or the easy way.
Nadine says hi, Kevin, listening from right downstairs.
That's my neighbor, Nadine. No, thank you. I got to
Yeah.
thank all of my
We have
friends and
Richard the Devani.
all of the
Richard
support
Devani
that I
says,
have. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you, everyone. Everyone
The
is
truck.
tuned in
We
to
call him
support
the
Kevin.
truck. Yeah.
Yeah. Richard Devani says, hi, Kevin. It's the
Thanks,
truck.
guys.
Can't wait for the book, and what a massive influence and light you've been for many people from Devon. Excellent. Excellent. So yeah, let's continue on. So yeah, that fighting spirit that passed through time, that power of love that passed through time, is
Yeah.
definitely something that's been translucent. That's been, existed across, time in itself. And going back to, I want to just take it back to like your father and then losing your grandmother. So you're talking about how I believe it was your grandmother, right? That was getting beat up, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
That's right.
So I'm sorry to hear, about that she had to go through that, and then eventually, you lost her. What what stage at your life were you, and how much did it impact you to the extent of where you are today?
Well, it was an interesting time because I had just returned from Ghana. You know, just picture this young kid, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, looking for his father, 17, 18, all these years, becoming a fighter. And I eventually got to go to Ghana when I moved to Los Angeles, and I went to Africa looking for my father, thinking I had found him, but
Yeah.
it wasn't him when I got there,
Wow.
and it was quite devastating for me because if you think about the thing it's like looking for the Holy
Yeah.
Grail, and you know, you can and you get there and it's not there. It's like what?
It's a false.
So I came back to London, and when I got back to England, my grandma died,
Sorry to
and
hear.
you know, she. It was the impact of those two things that really kind of hit me hard, and I felt like I needed to do something. And at the time, I was seeing a lot of Laurie David, who is Larry David's wife
Mm.
at the time. And she was such an inspiration in terms of she really champions, and she champions the planet. She's a champion here for this earth. And she said, "You didn't find your father? Oh my God, you got to write a book. If it can't be a book, it's got to be a book." Okay, so I said, "Yeah, that's a good idea," because I'd always had the sense that I would write another book, and so that was how the book was birthed, and I started to write. It took me years. I started 22 years ago writing the book,
Wow. 22 years ago.
and I didn't know how to write at the time.
In the
22
making.
years.
Oof.
Uh,
That's somebody's age.
yeah, I started writing just journaling,
Yeah.
journaling,
Powerful. Powerful.
journaling, and then I start trying to put it into
Hmm.
structure. It took several years to do that, and then I realized that I don't know how to write.
It's like some people.
But I mean, I can write, but like writing, structuring, and learning writing
It's
is a
an art.
craft,
Art, right?
right?
This
Like
is a common theme
it's
of
an
today,
art
right?
form.
It's an art. It's another art form.
Yeah, art form. So I had to learn how to write, and I had to learn. I joined an amazing writing
Mm.
group with
Okay.
Lisa Doctor, and we met every week for several years. And we'd read pages of our. There were other memoirists and other writers, and we'd read pages from our books, respective books
Hmm.
that we were writing. And it really, I learned really there how to translate the voice of the heart onto the
Mm.
page. And because I'm an actor, and at the same time I was studying acting, I was with the Beverly Hills Playhouse, which I'm
Okay.
still with, and um, Milton
Yeah.
Katselis played a big influence on me at the time. That I found out, that's when I really learned while I was doing these things, when I was writing and I was acting and I started to paint. I realized how all of the art forms come together to support the other one. Each one informs the other. So I know by being a better painter makes me a better writer, and make me a better writer makes me a better actor, and makes me a better actor makes me a better. They all kind of work for each other, and they're all kind of expressions of
Yeah.
myself. I need to express myself in these ways. I don't know how to do one thing. Even when I was doing martial arts, I was boxing and I was doing kung fu at the same
Ooh.
time. It was it was horrible because there was no time but pain and punishment and being disciplined and getting up in the morning and running and
It's
going to the
tough.
gym and training, and it was a tough life, but I didn't know how to separate them. I needed them both to complete me. And also, it pays off later. It really does pay off because it made me in my sport, in terms of
Yeah.
that aspect of combining different aspects of of art forms. Um, it helped to make me I say this with modesty, a legend in my sport. I'm very modest now, but you know, just to be able to climb to the heights and to be a great fighter, and that was my dream. And talking about the book, that was also part of what I was. Part of me was hiding as
Mm.
well. I mean, I was running away from Newcastle. I was trying to find myself, and I was hiding in this world champion that I created, and all the things that I hated about my life, and the things that I wasn't happy about, and the things I was fighting with
Yeah.
all those years. And there was shame. I had shame, and I had anger at not being able to
Yeah.
find my father. And part of being a champion was also
Yeah.
F you. I don't need you. I don't need you to
Yeah.
be my father. I'm going to be the
Mm.
world champion. I'm going to show
Mm.
you who I am.
The resentments,
So that
that
was
feeling of
driving me.
resentments. I can relate to
Yeah,
you. I went through similar emotions when when I found out who my real father was, even though I don't really have much relationship with him,
yeah,
and had the same
yeah.
emotions. Where were you when X Y Z happened? And I kind of
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
responded in different ways to very
yeah,
bad ways that I'm not proud of, but we've now kind of repaired the relationship to an extent. But yeah, Kevin, I can't agree with you more. Um, you know,
yeah,
these things can be used to for good, and it turned you into a world champion. Look at yourself.
yeah.
Let me ask you something, Kevin.
Well, yeah.
A lot of people
Hmm.
say it's lonely at the top. Okay, so obviously, you kept winning the world champion. You kept winning the world championship. All of this euphoria. How did it feel? Like once you won it and then you won it again. Was it the that feel good drive that just kept you going, or was it just you just wanted more? Like
Oh my God. Let me tell you, the first world championship is the hardest one
that's what
to
you
win.
all say.
Actually, actually, no. It's actually hard, but it's easy at the same time because you don't have any expectation. You're not a world champion yet, so you've got nothing to lose, and that's a great
Mm,
freedom. and I try to take that through in my life on a day-to-day basis, having
Yeah.
nothing to lose. So when you're being too careful about losing things, you miss out on opportunities that you can gain because you're holding back. But winning the world championship was an amazing moment. I was in Budapest, 20,000 spectators,
20,000. Wow.
and it was, yeah, 20,000 spectators, and it was like I felt like the world was waiting for me to come to this point. This is in my
Mm.
destiny, and I was just going into the last round of the fight, and every time I hit the guy, I would shout "Thank you," because it was what I used to say to motivate myself. I'd hit him and I go "Thank you," and somehow the audience heard. So every time I hit him, they would shout "Thank you," 20,000 people. So I was in the center of the world right there. The world was revolving around me, and I felt like I was slowing time down, like time was slowing down, and I didn't want
Mm.
it to end. I wanted to be, I was controlling the fight in every way, and I was just slowing it down. I was enjoying, like you're just enjoying a, a cup of ice cream. You're enjoying an ice cream, and you're
Yeah.
slowly eating it, and you're
Yeah.
savoring it. It
Just
was
trying to
like
make it
that,
last as long as possible.
and
Yeah. That moment. Every moment.
yeah. And at the same time, I wanted to win because I wanted to get there. At the same time, it was just like duplicity happening. And I to win the world championship for me was to win. Is like to everything you've wanted in your life. It's more than the world championship, you know. And it's about cultivating yourself. What's in yourself? I mean, the Buddhists would say your
Hmm.
Buddhahood, right? Because it's like alchemy. We get gold medals not because they're gold, because we have gold within ourselves, and the gold represents who we are.
Mm.
Whether it's a golden crown, or whether it's a
Hmm.
golden medal, or whether it's a gold belt you put around your waist, the gold represents the gold that is within us. So you never stop being a champion because it's always with you.
Mm.
It's all the things that you did to get there that made you
Yeah.
who you are.
Woof. Breathtaking. 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 Wow. What a story. What a story. What a story. What a story.
So anyway, the world championship. What was life like after that? It was like being a rock star. You just go places and win
Yeah.
fights all the time. It's like you have that the power of the gods are rolling
Yeah.
through you. It's like literally you have the power of the gods because you're fighting and you're like
No
no
one
one
touch
can
you.
touch you. You're on your game. You're going from state, town to city, parts of the world, fighting, touring, teaching, fighting, touring,
Yeah.
teaching, fighting, touring, teaching. Rock star, rock star, rock star.
Wow. Wow. I can imagine.
And then it's a wonderful thing. So and then teaching and then inspiring many people. I see now how I've been able to inspire so
Hmm.
many people in my teaching, or just as a fighter, people not knowing me sometimes, just watching me fight or seeing me talk sometimes, and then being able to inspire people without having to be directly in front of them, is a gift, and I'm grateful too for
Powerful.
that.
It's a powerful story, powerful imagery you've shared,
Yeah,
Kevin. Just those statements of gold, what it took for you to, to get to become world champion, and also the feeling and the fruits of being a world champion. Like you're invincible, nothing
yeah,
can stop you, and that God feat, that God kind of power behind you. You know, just that invincible feeling is obviously that's what can kept you going to the to win the consecutive titles. Congratulations,
yeah,
and the
absolutely.
20,000 people.
Well, let
Mm,
me tell you, the
yeah,
20,000. Let me tell the other
yeah,
side of that, okay? Which is when I went to
yeah.
Los Angeles, the city of angels. And I went to studying under Milton Casellas, Beverly Hills
Yeah.
Playhouse, right? In acting school. And I learned, he taught the language of the fighter, of the coaches that I taught. I mean, I thought I was going to acting class. I was thinking that it's going to be, I didn't know what I was thinking, but I didn't expect this guy to be talking like the fighting coaches that I've had.
Did acting
my
come
life.
just after you won all the championships? Okay, so this is
Yeah.
after. So your acting career
And
started afterwards.
I was I was transitioning. I told myself after my last fight, I told myself, I'm going to take all the energy that I have as a fighter, and I'm never going to stop fighting. I'm just going to put it into the new path of art,
Okay.
of acting, of doing these things, of expressing
Yeah.
myself in those things. So I never stop fighting. I'm always in the state, but I'm in a different form. That's how I think
Yeah.
about it that way. So this guy's talking about being vulnerable. He says you got to be vulnerable if you're going to be an actor. And he starts telling people, I'm hearing him critique people and being vulnerable. And I'm like, what the hell? Who wants to be vulnerable? I'm a fighter. We're talking about
Yeah.
this. You don't show yourself. You don't show yourself. It's all about putting armor around yourself. And then by learning and teaching and learn how art works. Art is all about being vulnerable and exposing yourself and taking away all the armor. So as an artist, I was able to start taking all the armor off that I put on over the years that was not serving me.
Took it all off.
Open that heart. Because when you got all the armor on, you do it so you protect yourself from stuff coming in, but it stops you from receiving love.
That is powerful. That's true. It's like a barrier. Is right. It's like a barrier.
Yeah, that's why you have to take it off. It's a barrier, and that's what acting taught me, to look for vulnerability, which is totally the opposite. It's like crazy.
I know.
Right? I'm a fighter, and I'm looking for. I'm trying to get more vulnerable. As an artist, as an actor, but that's where the power of art is, and that's where we connect, because we're all flawed, every single one of
Very
us.
true. Very, very true.
I'm emotional because I just am right now, but we are flawed. We are flawed, and when you share your story, and we share where we are. It makes it okay. It makes it okay to see yourself and to see other people and just to share your stories. And we share these things. And that's what I hope my book will do, which is for people to see themselves. It truly is the story of Odysseus, if you know the Odyssey, is the hero's journey. And I feel like we've gone full circle right now. And now I'm placing the book down with what I've learned from my journey. And the truth is, we're all heroes on our own journey.
Definitely.
All of us, each and every one of us we're the hero, and we are journeying on that path, and we got to slay the dragon. We gotta hit Medusa. We gotta get through the ocean that's going to try to swallow us. We got to get through all these tests and then bring our stories back. And that's how humanity keeps growing and gaining and getting further up to different levels.
That's it. It's like playing a classic video game, more levels, more devils, something along the lines of that, right? Yeah,
more
the
levels, more
devils.
devils.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the harder
totally.
the level you get, the harder the boss gets. And you just have to go through those obstacles, and then eventually, once you get through that, there's a treasure at the end, right? Or there's a reward at the end. And I think that reflects the journey that you've taken.
Sure.
That tough journey that brings rewards. And I think for you is a lot of delayed gratification, because it's a lot of patience to be able to participate in sports that you've participated in and other art forms as well. Writing the book for 22 years.
Yeah. I
the
mean,
discipline to train.
yeah. A lot of that. And you might ask yourself, why did he take 22 years to write a book? It's basically, there were times when I had to put it down and I had to live more life to understand.
Mm.
To understand what I was writing. I thought I was writing about trying to find my father. But after several years, I learned out that's not what I'm writing. I'm writing about how to love yourself, how to find yourself and love yourself. And just be, that's what the book was about. But it took me several years to figure that out. And then once I figured out what I'm writing about, then it just takes a whole new direction. And it takes time this is why we have to live life. So we have to learn, it comes with experience. I'm not saying I know everything yet. I'm still learning, but I know more. I know enough to get this version of the book out.
And this version of the book that I've read so far, as I mentioned to you, I've only read round 1. I can't wait to read the rest of it. Honestly, I honestly can't wait. And I think you've just
Thank you.
And I think you've just ended, I think you've just ended this segment of the show in a really nice way.
Thank you. That's great. It's great to be on here. It's a total blessing. I know that my African ancestors, and not just my African ancestors, but all of my ancestors are here supporting us here. Because when I was 15 and 16 searching for my father and I was lost. And Africa seemed so far away that here I am now in 2021. And we're on a podcast,
I know, right?
To Africa and London and America. And I'm sharing the story, and I'm talking to you.
You've got the whole world listening right
Ghana.
now, man. You've got Ghana listening, you've got UK listening, you've got US listening, and probably some other countries listening as well. This is what it's all about, as I told you. This is what the show is all about.
Yeah, it's a blessing. So I thank you. And I thank all of giving a shout out to KB Martial Arts.
KB Martial Arts.
In London. I'm giving a shout out to my tribe here in Los Angeles. My art tribe, my spiritual tribe, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Papillon, Brett, all the family. I give a shout out to all you guys. My kids as well. And I also want to say thank you to everybody. Because they say it takes a village, right? It's true. It takes a village.
It takes a village.
And to get me there. You helped to get me there. My neighbors, everyone. You know who you are.
I think a few of them are in the chat, and okay, that's the section we're going to get to now. Kevin, I mean, this has been great. This has been an awesome conversation. I've got so many more questions to ask you. I do feel like a lot of them will be answered in the book. Obviously, I've now got your number, I've got your email address, I've got your book. But yeah, we do have a number of messages and questions in the chat. So I think we're going to use this opportunity now to open up the Q&A. If we don't have a lot of questions, I may ask you 1 or 2 more questions before we wrap up the show, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and I know we did lose some time because of because of connection issues. So we're gonna replace that time. So yeah, if we look at the chat right now, we had some messages from Allison's Photography. She says, "I know Paul. I've not seen him since we were 16 years old, and he looks the same." We have Tony Charles says, "Hey, there's Vader the cat."
Vader's right there, yeah.
Because you have the cat walking past you. Alan Doran says, Buddhism says that we are perfect as we are, but we can improve. Interesting remarks. Feel free to get your questions, your comments in the live chat on YouTube or in the podcast session if you have the link. We are now going to open up the Q&A. I have seen a couple of questions in the YouTube chat. We're going to answer those first. If you do want to, call in live, visit thesoundofaccra.com/live, and that link will bring you straight to call in live, or the link is in the YouTube chat description on the live chat. I pinned the link on the YouTube live chat. If you do want to call in and ask Kevin a question live on the show, do not be shy. All right. So let's get straight to it, Kevin. So I don't know if you know Paul Stewart. I don't know if you know who this is, but maybe you do know him.
Yes, of course
So
I
he
do.
was saying, do you ever get older? What is your secret, champ?
um, I don't know how to answer.
All right.
I don't know how to answer that. Just keep doing my
Just keep
thing.
doing
Just
your
keep doing
thing.
art.
Okay. All right. And you got
And
another
we
one
had some
from
great
Paul.
times. Paul and I went down to part of in the book. We go through my inspiration of Muhammad Ali and
Mm,
how I was throughout my life, inspired by him, and how I was sad when devastated at certain points when I lost the opportunity to see him when I was a teenager. But then Paul, he was with me when we finally did go and spend some time with Ali
yeah.
in London,
Okay.
and it was a monumental moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have Kelly Bunyan calling in. We will answer any more questions in the
Yeah.
YouTube chat shortly. Let's let Kelly in. Okay, Kelly. So I believe you need to be on a Google Chrome. Hey, Kelly. Can you hear us?
Hey,
I think she's muted. Hold on. How do I unmute her?
you're muted. Yeah.
Okay, Kelly, could you? Oh, she's gone. Where's she gone? Um, she just disappeared. She gonna come back? Kelly, do call back in when you do get a moment. For those of you that want to call in, make sure you're using a Google Chrome browser. For whatever reason, it only works in the Google Chrome browser. Don't ask me why. All right. Until we see another call from Kelly, we're gonna go to the other question. So Paul Stewart says, has your success as a martial artist inspired you to realize that you can take that knowledge into any walk of life on how to be a success?
Oh, yes. That's a great question, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything I do has martial arts in it. When I'm acting, I'm a martial artist. When I'm painting, I'm a martial artist. When I'm writing, I'm a martial artist. Whatever I'm doing, it has martial arts in it.
Mm,
That was my
powerful.
that was my base of understanding and of discovery and learning how to, when you master something,
Hmm.
you know those same tools are used to master anything else. It's all the same, but just in different art forms.
True.
Whether you're Ali, Muhammad Ali used to say, "I would be the greatest even if I was just loading up the trash or I was a road sweeper. I'd just still be the greatest." So
Yeah,
it's the person, not the thing,
totally.
not the vessel. It's not the vessel, because we're the water. As Bruce Lee would say, be like water. So we're like water, right? You pour it in a cup, it becomes a cup. You pour it in a glass, it's a glass. You pour it in a bathtub, it's a bathtub. But
Mhm.
the water's the same, but the vessel changes. Yeah.
Mm. It's the same. It's the same substance, but in different forms. Yeah,
Yeah. And
powerful.
a big shout out. I want to say, I don't know if my friend Alan Barton is here or not, but I want to share this. Thank you, Alan, because Alan, I've had, and Carol Mangione, if she's listening right now,
I think.
and other people who have been looking at my book over the
Yeah.
years. But Alan gave me a great note in terms of editing my book at some point a few years ago, a couple of years now, and it truly helped to elevate the book to another level. So I thank him for that, and also thank my editor and co-publisher, uh, Andrea, who has been incredible in helping me get this book to publish the point of
Hmm.
publication and helping, polishing it up and editing this book in a awesome way.
Mm.
So I want to just recognize her for that.
I think some of them are watching. I can see Alan and Alan in the chat, and Carol. Did you say
Yeah,
Carol? Was Carol the other name? Carol.
Carol. Yeah,
Carol's
Carol. Yeah,
listening. She just put a message in the chat saying, Carol Mangione. I can't pronounce her name properly. Mangione, yeah.
Mangione.
She just put a message in the
Mangione.
YouTube chat saying she's listening. So there you have it. Big well done to
Okay,
big
great.
well done to everyone that's made this book happen. As I said before, I've read round one and I'm really enjoying it. Okay, so if anyone wants to call in live, please do so. You can do that. The link is in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. It's also pinned on the live chat, or visit thesoundofacra.com/live, and you can either send us a message or you can call in live. Just make sure you're using the Google Chrome browser, otherwise it may not work properly. Until then, I'm gonna go through some other questions that we have. So we've answered the questions from Paul. Um, there's a few other comments. Keith Newman says, if there's one thing in your life that you can illustrate to help inspire young people today, what would it be?
Oh,
That's a good
good
one.
one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, follow. You got to follow your heart. It's people say it all the time, but you got to follow what you feel in your heart. What's inspiring you. If you're inspired by playing football or whatever that might be, whatever's makes you want to get up out of
Yeah.
bed in the morning and just spend most of your
Hmm.
time to do. That's magic. So
Powerful.
go with that.
Powerful. I think Kelly's just called back in again. Hopefully we can hear Kelly this time.
Yes, Kelly.
Kelly, let me unmute
Oh
her.
no,
Kelly,
she's still muted.
I can hear you now, Kelly. Thank you for joining us. You're in there. Yep. Mm. Wow. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Wow. Powerful words. Powerful words, Kevin.
Thank you. Love you. Mm, yeah.
Powerful. Thank you, Kelly,
How much
for.
do I owe you money or something? Do I owe you money? Do I owe you money? I must owe you some money. Huh? Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. It's
Thank you.
great to
Nice to
see
meet
you.
you, Kelly.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for calling in. Thank you. Wow, Kevin, how do you feel?
Great. Yeah, great. This is why I wrote the book, so we could have conversations like this. And I heard a quote. The Sufis are really smart guys, and they say there's this quote that says, "Yesterday I was clever and I wanted to change the world, but today I'm wise and I want to change myself." So I think by doing the work, writing this book, which is all self-directed, if anyone can read it, and
Yeah,
benefit from it, then I'm grateful.
it
Grateful.
certainly is a moving book, at least from the introduction I've had. Um, Once again, guys, we do have the link for the book on the YouTube chat. We'll also have it in the show notes on the soundofcrowd.com. Once we do publish this episode as an actual podcast, we'll have the show notes and everything on the soundofcrowd.com. So feel free to head over there next week. And we do have the book link on the YouTube. Head over to theseareafricanhands.com to purchase or to pre-order the book. Um, powerful words from Kelly, who called in earlier on. And you've got to get that book. Such a moving book. You know, this is 22 years in the making. 22 years in the making. All right, let's.
Yeah. They built the pyramids in shorter time, didn't they?
Yeah, pyramids weren't built in a short amount of time, were they? Rome wasn't built in a day, isn't it? And so was Kevin wasn't built in one day, was he? You know,
Uh,
this is years and years in the making. This is years and years in the making. And let me see who else have put some questions in the chat. We do have another question. Ooh, Alan's asked a lot of questions, but I feel like we don't have enough time. We're going to go through a couple more questions. Serubit says, "Do you miss fighting days, and if so, how do you reconcile?"
could you say that again, please?
Yeah, sure. So we have a message from Serubit. If I pronounce the name incorrectly, I do apologize. Serubit says, "Do you miss fighting your fighting days, and if so, how do you reconcile?"
I don't feel like I miss them because I feel like I'm putting it into my everyday practice as an artist, and you know, fighting and art. I mean, they're both arts, but it's very much the same. I mean, I train and I do all the training. I'm not competing, but the expression is just the same. And the mind of a fighter and an artist, there's a lot of similarities. So I just feel like I'm always in that space. I don't feel like I'm missing out on
Mm,
anything. I looked when I was retiring, when I decided, when I was doing my last fight, I just had a whisper come in my ear and it said, "Make this your last fight." And I knew it would be the last fight then. I heard it in my whisper. I heard it. I heard it. I get these whispers throughout my life all the time. And then, so I went out there and I put my heart
yeah.
on the mat, in the ring. I left it there. And, and then I was able to move forward into all these other things that
Mm,
I do without any feeling of loss, just of abundance, really.
powerful, powerful stuff right there.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is incredible. Um, and you never had any temptations to come out of retirement, did you?
Well, a couple times,
Rocky.
I think every fighter does. I might even call you up next week to announce a comeback. I mean, sometimes we think like that.
Man, yeah, it never stops.
But trust me, there's a lot to handle. To yeah, I feel like I'm operating on the same level in what I'm doing. So yeah, I don't feel like I need to come and prove anything. I think if I was to fight again, it might be fun. You never know. I never say, let's never say never, because if I say never, I probably want to do it next in a month or two.
For real? Or you kidding?
No, I don't know. I mean, I like to keep myself open, all the doors open, because you never know. When I look at my life, there are things that I've accomplished or done that I just wouldn't have thought at the time, wasn't on my mind. So you never really always know for sure.
Okay. 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 We got another question. We have another question from Sentient Life. I don't know if that name means anything to you. Right now, what's the greater passion for you? Writing, creating your amazing art, or something else? Loving the session, brother, from Craig. I don't know. Maybe you know that person. You know Craig.
Oh yes, 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 yes. That's a great question, and it goes back to I feel like I need to be doing all of them to like be fulfilling who I am, who I am. I feel like I can't do one without the other, and each one feeds the other one, and it's an expression of my soul, which is like has a lot of ways to express itself. So I I like to keep all of them open and all of them relevant. And maybe sometimes I slow down on one and I'm feeding the other ones more. But the ones I've slowed down on is still there. It's still in the back. And then I bring them back. So I kind of like move them around and bring them together. And I feel good. I feel it's like speaking a different language. It's like speaking Italian, French, Japanese, Hungarian, whatever. It's like each one is a language. Yeah, it's like a language. They're languages that I can speak and communicate with. Art is about
Yeah.
communication. Art is about communicating with the world and with yourself. So it is a language. So these are my forms of language. And um, I wanted to say something to support that. I had it and it's
Okay.
gone now. But yeah, it's definitely art is a form of language. So there are just different ways. Art to different people, it's so
Mhm.
personal as well. When people if you look at an abstract painting, it will mean something totally different to someone as it might do to someone
Mhm.
else. And that is, if you look at art, you will see yourself in it, and that is the great healing aspect of art. Because when you see yourself in it, it is a mirror to see yourself and to heal yourself. And we all need healing.
Mm.
We all need it, and whether we're conscious of that or not. And even by awakening your consciousness, you see, we're all sleeping.
Mhm.
Milton Katselas used to always say, "Wake up, wake up, wake up," because we're all sleeping. And he was speaking on a spiritual level, but I didn't realize that at the time. I kind of did, but I didn't. But he's referring to everyone having to wake up. If you are humanity is trying to come out of of our darkness, what we don't know, and that's what enlightenment is awakening, is waking up from
Yeah.
not being conscious. So whether it's in a song that you hear, whether it's in a piece of art, whether it's in a dance performance, whether it's in some news, whether it's in a book you read, wherever you get the information that will just, it's like waking you up, all these small awakenings until your conscious has grown and
Mm.
grown and grown and grown and grown. That's why Gandhi says, live as if you're going to die tomorrow. Learn as if you're going to live forever.
Powerful.
Wait a minute, is that the right way
You
around?
could do research
Live
afterwards.
as if, live, learn as if you're going to live forever. Live as if you're going to die
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I
That's
think
the
that
way it
makes a lot
goes.
more sense.
So always getting the
Always.
information, always
Yeah.
getting the information and filling yourself, becoming rich. These are, you know, treasures,
Mm.
treasures, treasures.
I can see that in your life, how obviously your career has just changed into different, areas. Now you're more into arts, you're more into photography and things like that. You're just keeping yourself going,
Yeah,
and the only difference is the context, right? The art, the context of the
yeah,
art.
sure, sure.
Some,
But all of it is, you know, the context of the art. But all of it is for all of us, whatever we're doing, whatever we switch and do and progress and evolve to do, whatever job that is, or whatever task, or whatever art form or craft, or
yeah.
whatever it is a study. It's a study of ourselves. It's a study of ourselves. So we're always learning about ourselves,
Mm,
really, as we go out
powerful,
with doing these things with people
powerful stuff. Oh,
in the
okay,
world.
so I think we're gonna end it with the last question and comment. Allison's photography again. I mean, if you know that person, are there any photos in the book? As much as I'm looking forward to reading about your life since we left school, I like to see some photos of what you've done. Okay, you know that person. Are there any
Yeah,
photos in the
yeah.
book, Kevin?
Oh man. Well, there. I hate to disappoint you. There are no
No
photographs.
photos, Allison. Sorry about that. You're
Sorry,
gonna have to
sorry.
use your imagination. Use your imagination.
We're gonna have to get you some
Yeah.
photographs somehow, but there won't be. They're not
Mhm.
in the book. Um, Unfortunately, maybe that's the next book. We'll do a
That's it.
photographic
Maybe version
version.
2, you can have some photos in there, because there are
Yeah,
some, books, memoirs, biographies, etc. that do have some photos in there, of course, as you would know. So I think it would be great to have photos in your book, just to know, just knowing that you've had such a, decorative career, whether it's fighting, whether it's acting, etc., writing, art. It's very, very visual, moments that people would want to actually see. So I think it would make sense to have some pictures maybe in the
yeah,
second version. Allison's is responding with a laughing emoji there. so sh- so he or she has definitely got
yeah.
the message. And I think I'm gonna end with this last question. When you come back to Africa, when you come back to Ghana,
Oh,
you
that's
should
a
come back to
great
Ghana, man.
question.
This is
Okay.
actually a shirt from Ghana. So there's a brand. Actually, I won't name the brand because they ain't sponsored me. Maybe in season 3 they can sponsor me, and I'll mention the brand. But yeah, this is a Ghanaian style
Yeah,
shirt.
good call.
Yeah.
Good call. Good call. Well, I was just asking. I was just telling, asking my friend Carol yesterday,
Hmm.
who's on the call, the same thing. So now it's being returned back to me. Okay, that's funny.
There you go. Uh,
That's how life
Allison's is a he.
works.
Sorry, Allison. Allison is a he. Sorry about that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's
I
not
will mess
don't
that
mess
up.
that up. Don't mess up my friends.
I don't want an army coming to fight me over here. So yeah, we want peace, not war.
Uh,
Not war.
we
Yeah.
want peace. I think I'm going to go to answer your question. I think I will come to Ghana relatively soon, given that the world right
Of
now is
course.
still in the
Yeah.
pandemic. But as soon as it's probably, I mean, maybe later this
Mm,
year. But I'd like to do that because I think it will be a good way for me also as a reconciliation in terms of writing, having written the book,
absolutely.
which takes place so much metaphorically and psychologically in
Yeah.
Ghana that it it will be a good visit for me to have, and I hope I get to see you
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah. Just let me know, and I'll make sure that we're there at the same time. And I even hope to come over to the States sometime as well. I haven't been to the States for about 10 years now, obviously, for various reasons. One question I was going to ask you is, when did you actually make that move to America, from England? Was it the kickboxing that took you over to the States mainly?
Yeah, when I was fighting, I was
Yeah.
coming to America. Um,
Coming to America.
I watched it
Coming to
actually
America
coming
too.
to
Yeah,
America.
I watched it as well. See, there's lots of
Yeah,
mixed reviews. A lot of people Not as happy with it, but I'm a big fan, so I was satisfied, so
Yeah,
can't complain.
yeah. I think it was just like let's just put it
Yeah,
all on
put
the
it all on the
table.
table. That's it. Is. Put it all on the table. Yeah.
On the
Awesome.
table.
Thank you, Kevin. This is
But yeah, we gotta love it though. But to answer, what was your
Yeah. So the
question
question
was?
was, at what point, at what stage of your life did you actually make that move to America? Because
Oh,
of course,
okay.
obviously you were born and obviously you grew up in England
Mm,
initially, and then
yeah,
obviously now you're in
yeah.
America, you're living, and
Right.
you obviously you're living in
Yeah.
America now. So was it the kickboxing that mainly took you over to America
Well, it took me here. I was
to
coming here
compete?
to
Yeah.
compete in
Yeah.
throughout America. And I remember when I came to Los Angeles, California, I felt the energy. I mean, the different parts of the world where I feel energy, and I don't know how many of you believe in past lives, but you feel connected to certain places when
Mm,
you go. So it's very possible you
yeah.
have histories there. And in which case, I had that feeling when I came here. I wasn't conscious of past lives then, but I was thinking, I like it here. I feel connected. And when I think of my journey, I was destined to come here and destined to follow the path to where I am
Yeah.
now. And I just like to be, I liked it here. It was an energy, it was the ocean, it was the mountains, it was
Yeah.
the nature. There's nature in
Yeah.
England as well. But it's just,
Different.
it's just
Yeah.
everything's different. The
Yeah,
places.
America. I mean, there's no place like America. It's just a land of opportunities, freedom. It just has so much to offer. It's like every state has its own thing going on. I've not been to Los Angeles. I've not been to
Yeah.
California. I've been to Washington. I've been to New York. I've been to Virginia. Maybe some other places, New Jersey. But I've not been to California. But I know every state has something else to offer, and it's essentially you never need to necessarily leave America because it has it all. The nature. Yeah.
America is a great place. America is a very spiritual land, and because it's the land of Native
Mm,
America, the natives, and there's so much spirituality here, and there's so much. They talk about land of freedom, but at the same time, there are a lot of other things that impact it, as we probably know already, politically and other ways, and historically too. When we look at slavery, and we look at that genocide of Native Americans, so there's a mixed number of things, and I think that's where America is. I think we're moving forward in a reorganization of a reconciliation, I would say, in the future of those things on a spiritual level. And but to just answer your question, America is an amazing place.
it
It
really
really
is.
is.
Do you know a person called Ajare? Ajare. I don't know if that name rings a bell to you. Ajare,
Asia
yeah.
Ray,
So
Asia,
Ajare
of
says,
course.
"Ha ha ha."
Yes. And who,
Ajare. All right. Ajare says, in the podcast session chat, "Ha ha ha." We just talked about coming to America. Glad y'all watched it.
well, actually, let me tell you, I watched it last night because she said she was going to watch it. So I heard her say that. And I said, okay, I want to watch Coming
Yeah.
to America. Thank you, Asia.
Thank you, Asia. I mean, apparently it's the number one film in Europe right now. So shout out to Eddie Murphy and the gang. We don't take too much. We don't talk about coming to America too much, or we might get sidetracked. But yeah, I mean, there you have it, guys. That is an evening with Kevin Brewerton, the amazing legend himself in the flesh. I just want to thank you for taking time out of your show. Even speaking to me in Zoom last week before we made this happen, and even us getting together to make this happen. To you, the awesome listeners who are watching live on YouTube or on Riverside in the podcast session, thank you for taking your time to tune in and to contribute to the conversation. I'm just going to go through the last messages and comments, and I'll make the last kind of final call to actions, and we'll wrap up this show. Asia Ray says, "Love you." There you go. That's for you, Kevin. A lot of love from Allison's photography. It's Bruce Allinson. Okay, nice to meet you, Bruce Allinson. Carol says that trip to Africa will happen. Amen. In Jesus' name, that's going to happen. I want to see this man in the flesh. And then we have Sentient Life says, "Hey, Carol." Okay, Okay, I think they're talking to each other. Richard says, Richard Devaney. Hey, Richard. What an amazing podcast. Thank you, Kevin and Adrian. Thank you, Richard, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Thank you for an amazing podcast, guys. Okay, he just keeps saying it. Thank you. He said it like 3 times. And Alan Doran says, thank you for an engaging dialogue. Pleasure's all mine, Alan. I'm glad that you've stuck around for this long, as you've been live for just over an hour and a half. Yeah, once again, and Alanson says, thank you, guys. Great podcast. Thank you. Thank you also. So yeah, there you have it, guys. I'd just like to end the conversation with obviously the final call to actions. Once again, we have Kevin's book coming out. These are African Hands. The Journey of a Champion coming out on March 28th, but you can order it now by heading to theseareafricanhands.com. Is that correct, Kevin? That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
So this conversation is what you can expect in the book. If you don't have it already, make sure you go get that. We'll also do a book giveaway, actually. So for those of you who actually wants to get your hands on the book, I've just mentioned the name of the book. Just put it in the chat. The first person to put the name of the book in the chat will get a copy of the book. We will work something out with Kevin, whether that's the physical copy signed or digital copy sent to you. We will work something out with Kevin.
Well,
yep. Kevin's going to sign a copy. How about that? So whoever puts in the chat, whether on YouTube or in the podcast session chat, the name of the book in the chat, the first person will get a copy of the book signed by Kevin himself. Oh, that was quick. Oh, whoa, wow. We have KB. So, well, okay, rapid fire. Okay, YouTube exploding. And we've had Kelly. Okay, Kelly, who called in. Everyone just wrote in the name of the book. These are African Hands. Congratulations, Kelly. You have won the signed copy of the book by Kevin. So me and Kevin are going to arrange that and make sure you get that book over to you. And we've seen a lot of people. We've got a Natalie's also put in the message. Natalie Mendoza also put the name of the book. But you're too slow, Natalie. I'm sorry, you're too slow. But I'm sure Kevin can arrange something.
I got a copy.
Kevin's got a copy for you. You know, so don't worry. Don't you worry. But yeah, once again, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I really do appreciate you listening in. If you haven't heard about the Sound of Accra podcast before, you can head over to thesoundofaccra.com. You can listen to season 1 and season 2 and find out more about the show. We are also available on YouTube, if you're watching right now, on the YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher, and all of your favorite podcast platforms apart from SoundCloud. Any final thoughts, any final words that you want to share, Kevin?
I'd just like to thank everyone for all of your support and love over the years and recently, because it's made a big impact on me. And thank you. I want to thank you.
And we have James Mercer. He is the founder of Ghana Collective. He's also one of my partners. He says, thanks, Kevin. So, Kevin, you've been very well appreciated by this intimate audience. We've had a very good turnout, better than I expected. And the podcast will be out next week, guys, and you should be able to watch the replay instantly on YouTube as soon as this ends. And thank you all for coming. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.